everyone. I'm Liz Brunner, and welcome to CoreNet Global TV. We're premiering our channel here at the Boston Summit. And my guest tonight is an artist, an inventor, and a professor at UC Berkeley, where he focuses on robotics. In fact, you had the first robot on the internet. Please welcome Ken Goldberg. Good to see you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by. Your work is
me.
fascinating to me.
Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, you and your students are pursuing research in machine learning, which is somewhat related to AI, right?
Well, absolutely.
Sort of, kind of.
Definitely. So AI, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, and robotics are all kind of intertwined.
Yes.
So there's a lot of advances that are happening recently.
That's amazing. Now, tomorrow you're speaking at the general session. What's next for the human experience? So what's next?
So the most important thing I want to tell everyone is that humans still have a few good years left.
Whew, okay, I'm relieved.
Definitely. No, there's a lot of hype out there. And I think it's really important as a researcher to reassure people that these problems are very, very difficult. I mean, what people do is very subtle and complex. So take as an example, driving. So there's a lot of people saying that we're going to replace all the Uber and Lyft drivers very soon. No.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not going to happen. You're right, because it's very, very subtle. Because if you get in traffic and it gets complicated, there's a lot of nuances and subtleties. Sure. So that's one example. Truck drivers, bus drivers, taxi drivers, they're actually going to have jobs for a very long time. But the same is true for anyone who works in construction, in machine shops, in industry, restaurants. What
jobs might be disappearing 10, 20, 30 years as a result of AI?
So I do think about stockbrokers.
Oh, really?
For example. Well, if you're a stockbroker and your job is just to sort of move stocks around and pick stocks, that can somewhat be starting to be automated. But it's the human part of it, where you have to call on the phone and talk to a person who just lost 20% of their portfolio.
Right.
That is a very human skill.
Absolutely.
And we are nowhere near close to having a robot that can do that.
I'm so glad to hear that, because I'm all about face-to-face connection and the human experience.
So journalists, your job is totally secure. I mean, some people say journalists are going to be replaced because
there are anchors who are robots in some countries.
I know. But
Phew.
no, but what you do is what you're doing right now is super subtle and complex, and there's no way we're nowhere near having robots.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yes.
For the non-tech person, how do you explain cloud robotics, and how does that impact the CRE professional?
Well, the idea of the cloud is that we're going to increasingly have more connectivity to the cloud. So the idea of Internet of Things is definitely coming. So there's something called 5G, which is the 5th generation of networking, and that's actually going to happen. You're going to start seeing that roll out in 2019, and it's going to mean faster connectivity, more devices connected. So there'll be cameras, devices. So one area you'll see it is in security. So a lot of homes and businesses will have security devices that will all be linked up.
They'll all be talking to each other.
They'll be talking to each other.
Yeah.
And so that can be good, and that'll enhance security, but it's also got a dark side, because it could mean that you could be observed or surveilled.
Yeah, and that concerns a lot of people.
Right.
That security piece and that privacy piece.
Right, and it should, because one of the things is that we have to be careful. It's like a double-edged sword. Like,
Sure.
The whole idea of George Orwell or something like that. Like we want to be protected, but at the same time, what are we giving up for that?
Good question. As I said, you're an artist and an inventor, and it's sort of like your right brain and your left brain seem to be working pretty equally here. And between the science you work on and the creative side, you have had artwork that has appeared in 70 exhibits. Describe your artwork for us.
Well, the thing I think about with art is that it's a way of challenging the assumptions. And artists, when they're working, are always trying to provoke and challenge conventional wisdom, the status quo. So in some way, what I see is that as an artist, I'm sort of critiquing what I do as a day job, but that keeps me honest in one sense, but it also helps me be creative about new ideas. So, I mean, all researchers have to be actually quite creative. You have to be thinking outside the box.
Always.
Yeah, and that's actually related to privacy, I believe. You have to, if you're going to do something different, you have to be able to be different than the standard.
Right.
You have to be thinking differently.
Right.
And if you're thinking differently, you have to be able to be comfortable standing outside of the mainstream.
Well, as an inventor, you have to be outside of the mainstream. You really have to be creative. So it makes sense to me that both of those are working equally for you, which is wonderful.
You have to take chances, and that's
do.
the thing is that there's risks. So if you look at any inventor, they're going to take risks. They're going to fail a certain amount of the time, but they have to be okay
That's
with
how
that.
that spurs you on, right? Thomas Edison, he'd stop
Absolutely.
before the light bulb.
Right.
Now, you have also co-written a number of films that have been at the Sundance Film Festival, and you've been nominated for an Emmy Award. What is all of this about? I mean, really?
I mean, that was a tough year because we were up against the New York Times in the category, and they had two nominations, and we were up, and we were like, are we going to really beat the New York Times? But I have to say, I work with my wife. She's a filmmaker, and we do films. We make films about social issues like robots and Google Glass. We have a whole story about that, and so we're really interested in using film to sort of convey these messages or get people thinking about these things. And visually, I think it helps. And so tomorrow I'll actually be talking about that with, use a lot of slides and visual images to sort of get people thinking about the things they're reading in the newspaper and why they might not necessarily be true.
Aha. Well, that was sounding like a tease to me for tomorrow morning, so people can join you at very early at 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
8 o'clock, right.
8 o'clock in the morning. You're going to be on East Coast, West Coast time. You're going to be a little confused, but that's all right.
I'll make it.
Ken, thanks so much for stopping
Liz,
by.
thank
A pleasure
you.
to spend
Really
time with
great
you.
talking to
Look
you.
forward to your remarks tomorrow.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for joining us in CNGtv. I'll see you next time.